Chosen one, this message finds you at a precise point in your journey. Not by chance, not by coincidence, but because your life has been under divine attention far longer than you realize. You may have felt overlooked, underestimated, or unsure why certain seasons felt heavier than others, yet the truth is deeper and far more meaningful. Long before you questioned your path, heaven had already responded. While you were navigating daily responsibilities, unseen activity surrounded your life, responding to your prayers, your endurance, and even the silent cries you could not put into words. Something took place that you did not fully recognize at the time, and this message is meant to awaken that awareness within you. From the earliest pages of faith history, we see that heaven does not remain distant when a person walks with sincerity and purpose. When individuals aligned their hearts toward God, help was released beyond the visible realm. Battles were addressed before the person ever knew there was danger. Delays were not signs of neglect, but evidence that resistance existed beyond human understanding. Many who carried divine assignments continued their daily lives unaware that assistance had already been dispatched on their behalf. This same pattern did not stop in ancient times. It remains active today. Your endurance through seasons that should have broken you is not accidental. Your survival points to protection you did not arrange for yourself. You may recall times when things nearly collapsed, when outcomes could have gone in another direction, when a single decision or delay altered the course of your life. You may have wondered afterward why it did not end the way fear suggested. The answer rests in the unseen realm, where authority greater than any earthly power intervened. Heaven takes notice of lives that carry purpose, and when that happens, responses are released that exceed human logic. This is why you are still standing. This is why you are still here. This is why your story continues. Many people misunderstand spiritual warfare, thinking it only appears during visible conflict. In truth, the most intense resistance often unfolds quietly, away from public view. When a life carries future impact, resistance begins early. Opposition is not proof of failure. It is often confirmation of assignment. The pressure you faced was never meant to crush you, but to test what you carried. You were strengthened in ways you could not see at the time. Protection surrounded you even while confusion tried to dominate your thoughts. This is why reflection matters. When you look back, patterns emerge that point to divine involvement rather than chance. Throughout history, men and women who later shaped nations or faith movements first passed through obscurity, misunderstanding, or isolation. Their early years did not announce their future influence. Some were overlooked by their families. Others were delayed by circumstances beyond their control. Yet help arrived at critical moments, ensuring their purpose remained intact. The same principle applies here. You were not spared because life is fair. You were preserved because your life matters beyond what you currently understand. If this message resonates, take a second to acknowledge that awareness is already increasing. Engagement is not about numbers, it is about alignment. If you feel led, let this message stay with you. Share it with someone who has been questioning why their journey feels different. Stay connected to this space because clarity builds layer by layer, not all at once. One of the greatest challenges for those who are chosen is recognizing divine involvement while still living in the ordinary flow of life. Familiar routines can mask extraordinary protection. Pain can distract from purpose. Weariness can blur vision. This is why growth requires reflection. The more you mature spiritually, the more you begin to recognize that nothing was wasted. Every delay trained patience. Every setback refined discernment. Every season of silence strengthened your inner foundation. There is also a reason you did not fully see what took place when it happened. Full awareness too early can overwhelm an unprepared mind. Growth is progressive. Understanding arrives when character can support it. This is an act of mercy, not limitation. When insight comes at the right time, it brings peace rather than fear. You are entering a phase where reflection no longer weakens you, but strengthens you. That alone signals growth. Consider how many times you felt guided away from paths that later revealed hidden dangers. Consider opportunities that closed only to make room for something more aligned. These are not random outcomes. They are evidence of oversight beyond human planning. Your role was to keep walking. Heaven handled what you could not see. That partnership continues today. Midway through this message, it is important to ask you directly, have you taken time to reflect on what you survived that you never fully understood? Have you considered how close certain outcomes came, only to shift unexpectedly? Your reflections matter. If you feel comfortable, share your thoughts in the comments. Your story may confirm truth for someone else who is still searching for understanding. The journey of a chosen one is not about constant clarity. It is about consistent trust. Faith grows when we recognize that unseen help does not require our awareness to function. You were never alone, even during seasons when you felt disconnected. Strength was being added quietly. Wisdom was being formed internally. The stage you are entering now requires that strength. As this first part closes, let this truth settle deeply. Awareness is increasing because preparation has already occurred. You are not late. You are not behind. You are becoming ready to see what once would have overwhelmed you. Stay open, stay grounded, stay willing to grow. What has already taken place will soon make sense in ways that bring peace rather than confusion. If this message has spoken to you, remain connected. The next part will go deeper into why resistance surrounded your journey and how protection was activated long before you understood the stakes. As your awareness grows, it becomes easier to understand why resistance followed you even when you were simply trying to live quietly. Opposition does not announce itself with clarity. It works subtly, aiming to exhaust, distract, or discourage before purpose matures. Many chosen individuals experience unusual pressure early in life, not because they are weak, but because their future carries weight. When destiny carries influence, resistance attempts interruption long before fulfillment appears. This is why your early struggles felt disproportionate to your circumstances. You were being shaped for something larger than survival. In faith history, those entrusted with responsibility beyond themselves were often engaged by unseen resistance before their assignment was revealed publicly. Their lives attracted attention beyond human observation, yet protection always matched opposition. Assistance was released when pressure increased. Help arrived quietly, often through ordinary means, so that fear would not overwhelm faith. This balance between challenge and protection is intentional. It teaches trust without dependence on spectacle. Your journey followed the same pattern. There were seasons when exhaustion tried to convince you that progress had stopped. You questioned whether effort mattered. You wondered why growth felt slow despite sincere commitment. Yet during those very seasons, strength was being deposited internally. Endurance was increasing. Discernment was sharpening. You were learning how to remain steady without constant reassurance. These lessons do not feel powerful in the moment, but they become invaluable later. Stability is built quietly. Many people chase visible affirmation, but chosen individuals are trained to rely on internal conviction. This is why your validation did not always come from people. Support appeared inconsistently. Encouragement felt delayed. This was not punishment, it was preparation. When your source becomes anchored in God rather than applause, your foundation becomes unshakable. You begin to move with purpose rather than urgency. That shift changes everything. At this stage, spiritual growth requires honesty. You must acknowledge that some of the challenges you faced were never meant to destroy you, even though they felt overwhelming. They exposed areas that required healing. They revealed thought patterns that needed renewal. They pushed you to seek wisdom beyond surface-level understanding. Growth demanded humility, not perfection. Every time you chose reflection over resentment, strength increased. Throughout history, notable leaders, reformers, and innovators carried deep internal battles long before external recognition arrived. Some wrestled with doubt, others faced rejection, many endured seasons where their efforts appeared invisible. Yet, those hidden years became the foundation of their later influence. Character was established long before platforms appeared. Your journey mirrors this principle. What feels unseen now will later make sense as preparation rather than delay. This is also why discernment matters deeply for you. Not every opportunity is meant to be accepted. Not every door is meant to be opened. When a life carries purpose, distraction becomes one of the most effective tools used against it. Busy schedules can quietly replace meaningful progress. Noise can drown out direction. You have learned, sometimes through discomfort, how to pause internally and seek clarity before moving forward. That wisdom protects your future. If you are still watching, take a second to check in with yourself. Have you noticed how your tolerance for meaningless conflict has decreased? Have you felt a growing desire for alignment rather than approval? These shifts are signs of maturity. They signal readiness for greater responsibility. Share in the comments if you recognize these changes within yourself. Others will find reassurance through your honesty. Spiritual warfare does not always appear dramatic. Often it manifests as discouragement, self-doubt, or weariness. These subtle pressures aim to disconnect you from purpose without triggering alarm. Yet awareness dismantles their power. Once you recognize the pattern, you stop internalizing every struggle as personal failure. You begin to respond with wisdom rather than reaction. This is growth. Protection continues even now, though it may not always be obvious. Guidance arrives through intuition, counsel, restraint, and timing. Sometimes the greatest protection is delay. Other times it is redirection. Learning to trust these movements requires patience. Yet, each time you choose trust over frustration, your alignment deepens. You begin to walk with clarity rather than confusion. There is also an important truth to acknowledge. Increased awareness brings responsibility. As understanding grows, accountability increases. You are no longer operating from survival alone. You are learning to operate from purpose. This means choices carry weight. Discipline matters. Consistency becomes essential. The future you are moving towards requires stability more than speed. As this part draws to a close, let this settle deeply. Your journey has not been random, and your endurance has not been unnoticed. Growth occurred long before recognition. Strength formed quietly before confidence appeared. You are now capable of understanding what once would have overwhelmed you. This progression confirms readiness. Remain connected. What follows will bring clarity to how you move forward with wisdom, confidence, and purpose, applying what you have learned rather than merely reflecting on it. Now that awareness has expanded, the question becomes how you live from this understanding. Insight without action eventually turns into frustration, but insight paired with obedience produces transformation. You are not being informed for inspiration alone, you are being equipped for movement. The awareness that heaven noticed your endurance is not meant to inflate pride, but to awaken responsibility. When much is entrusted, much is required. This is where maturity replaces hesitation. Your next season will not be defined by survival, but by stewardship. You are learning how to manage peace, focus, and discipline in ways you never had to before. This is why old habits no longer fit comfortably. Distractions that once felt harmless now feel draining. Conversations without purpose feel heavy. This is not isolation, it is refinement. You are becoming selective because alignment now matters more than comfort. Throughout sacred history, those who stepped into lasting influence first learned restraint. They understood when to speak and when to remain quiet. They learned how to move with intention rather than impulse. Power without wisdom leads to collapse, but power guided by humility creates longevity. This is why your growth has been gradual. You are being prepared to carry impact without losing balance. This is also the stage where faith becomes practical. Trust is no longer just belief, it becomes daily decision-making. You choose integrity even when compromise appears easier. You choose patience even when urgency tries to rush you. You choose discipline even when motivation fluctuates. These choices shape outcomes more than emotional highs ever could. Consistency builds what passion alone cannot sustain. You may notice that fear now shows up differently. It no longer shouts, it whispers questions about worth, timing, and readiness. This is not failure, it is simply the final attempt to delay movement. Courage does not mean the absence of uncertainty, it means movement despite it. Every meaningful step you take weakens hesitation and strengthens confidence. Historical figures who shaped nations, movements, and reform rarely felt fully prepared when opportunity arrived. Readiness often appeared after obedience, not before it. The moment they moved forward, clarity followed. This principle still holds true. You do not need full visibility to take the next step. You only need faithfulness with what is already in front of you. Your dreams matter, but they require structure. Vision without discipline fades. This is why practical steps are essential. Establish rhythms that support growth. Create space for reflection. Guard your energy. Be intentional with time. These are not restrictions, they are frameworks that protect momentum. What you sustain daily determines what you experience long-term. You are also called to influence others, even if your platform is currently small. Influence is not measured by numbers alone, but by impact. One conversation, one example, one act of integrity can shift another person's direction. Do not underestimate the reach of a life lived with purpose. Your consistency speaks louder than any announcement ever could. If this message resonates, take a moment to engage. Share your reflections in the comments. Your words may confirm what someone else has been sensing quietly. Support the community by liking and sharing this message so it reaches those who need encouragement right now. And if you have not yet subscribed, join us here at The Chosen Star, where faith meets growth and purpose is nurtured intentionally. As you move forward, remember this: you are not walking alone and you are not moving blindly. Guidance continues, strength remains available, and clarity increases as obedience becomes practice. The awareness you carry now is a gift. Use it wisely. Walk steadily. Remain grounded. The work ahead requires focus, but it also carries fulfillment. You are not behind. You are not overlooked. You are prepared. What once happened beyond your awareness now becomes the foundation for how you live, lead, and serve. This is not the end of the journey, it is the beginning of intentional movement. Stay connected, stay faithful, stay aligned. Your growth continues.